What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be sharing exactly how the loadout system works in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now for those that don't know, I was able to attend an alpha play session for about 3.5 hours last week, and in this I was playing with and against some of the best players in the world. There were actually some professional players in there and retired professional players, so just keep that in mind when you're watching the gameplay. Most of the people I'm playing against are far better than me. But in today's video for you guys, I want to go in great detail and explain exactly how the loadout system or the create a class system works in Black Ops Cold War, at least based on this alpha. That is something to keep in mind. This is from an alpha version of the game, and things still could change from here. They might not, but at the same time, there is that possibility that things will change. Also, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to show you guys menu footage, because that would make things a lot easier in showing off how this works, but I will show you guys just a few little screen caps to help illustrate how this works. So jumping right into it, this is what a class setup looks like in Black Ops Cold War. We've got a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, a lethal, a tactical, a field upgrade, which is now attached to the individual loadout rather than something you just select in general. Then we have 3 tiers of perks, and we get 1 perk per tier by default. And then finally, we get a wild card, and the wild cards are very interesting. We'll be covering those toward the end, but let's start it off with the primary weapon. Underneath this, you can see that there is a Gunsmith. So the Gunsmith from Modern Warfare is effectively returning in this game, and it's very similar. By default, with your primary and secondary weapon, you get to choose 5 attachments for each of them. And these come at no additional cost to you, so it's not like the Pick 10 system where you have to sacrifice perks in order to get 5 attachments. You just get 5 attachments for free by default. Now, just like with the Modern Warfare Gunsmith system, we have different areas that we put attachments on. So there's 8 different categories on the MP5, for instance. And these are optic, muzzle, barrel, underbarrel, body, stock, magazine, and handle. And this is just like with Modern Warfare. You can't have more than 1 attachment from each of these categories, like 2 suppressors, for instance, because that would make no sense. But you have 8 categories to choose from, and you can choose up to 5 attachments by default. And like I said, it's the same story with your secondary weapon. You also get 5 attachments on there, and it's worth noting that shotguns are secondary weapons in this game. Now, one thing I do want to mention here when it comes to the attachments for the guns, something that they did, at least in this build of the game, that I'm really excited about, is just like with Modern Warfare, for each attachment, they will state the pros and the cons. The big difference here, though, is they show actual percentage changes. So just as an example, with one of the suppressors on the MP5, this is just the sound suppressor. There are multiple types of suppressors though. With this one, the pros are, it keeps you off the minimap. And that's actually the only pro, whereas the con is a 15% reduction to your damage range. And they actually state that it's a 15% reduction. So you no longer have to go onto YouTube or some third-party site in order to find those details, and I no longer have to spend hours and hours testing every little detail of every attachment. So this is something I'm really happy to see. I'm just hoping this means they also won't have any hidden stats with the attachments like they have in Modern Warfare, where it changes something and they don't even state that anywhere in the attachment. But so far, this is looking really good because they actually show you exactly what an attachment does. Additionally, something I noticed with a lot of attachments compared to Modern Warfare is for many of the attachments in this, they appear to be 100% pure upsides. Like there are no cons listed whatsoever. And this is more so like what we've had in the past with Call of Duty games, where putting an attachment on only has a positive impact. It doesn't harm the gun at all. Now, I'm not saying all of the attachments in the game are like this. There are some that are balanced out a bit more, where you gain some benefit in one area and it hurts you a bit in a different area. But in general, it seems like there are far more pros than cons with the attachments. And I think this is going to lead to more variety in how we set our weapons up. I was thinking about this in Modern Warfare. There are a lot of attachments that I stay away from, not because I don't like the upsides, but it's more so I'm trying to avoid those particular downsides that come with that type of an attachment. And I feel like this has really limited my attachment choice in Modern Warfare. So in this game, I'm hoping this means we're going to be seeing more variety in our attachment combinations. But that pretty much covers it for the primary and secondary weapon and their attachments. But now I want to move into the rest of the class setups, and let's get into the equipment. So with every class setup, like I said, you get a free tactical equipment, and in the build that we played, the only ones that were available were the stun grenade or the smoke grenade. There will of course be more in the full build. Then you also get to choose a lethal, and again, we only had access to 2 in this build, and this was the C4 as well as the frag grenade, and everybody gets that lethal and tactical on their class. There's no trade-off like the pick 10 system, it's just there for everyone. But after that, we also choose a field upgrade, and unlike Modern Warfare where you choose your field upgrade, kind of like your score streaks where it's not unique to each individual class, it's just what you're using at the time regardless of the class that you're using, this time, the field upgrades are attached to the individual classes. And let's go through these field upgrades. First up, we have the proximity mine, and this is just like the proximity mine from Modern Warfare as far as I can tell. You throw it down, and it's basically like a bouncing Betty where if you crouch, you can avoid damage from it, but if you remain standing, then it's going to kill you. And it's really interesting that they added this as a field upgrade rather than just a regular piece of equipment. I actually quite like the idea of that. With this, it states that we have a recharge time of 2 minutes, although that recharge time is reduced for any score that you earn, just like the field upgrades in Modern Warfare. So you can potentially get it faster than 2 minutes. Next up for field upgrades, we have the SAM turret, and with this one, this takes 3 minutes 45 seconds to charge, so it takes quite a bit longer. And with this, you place it down, and it will shoot at enemy air-based score streaks. And I did test this a little bit, and one thing I noticed with it is, first up, it takes a little while to actually find the streak and lock onto it. Second, the rockets move quite slow, and third, it actually took 2 rockets to take down an enemy spy plane. So it doesn't seem like the SAM turret's going to be that super powerful thing where you throw one down and all of the enemy airbase streaks go down pretty much instantly after you throw it. It seems like it's more of the type of thing that just helps you take out enemy score streaks. But moving on to the next one, this is the jammer, and this one takes 2 minutes 30 seconds to charge in the alpha. And with this, it's just a small piece of equipment you throw on the ground, and this creates an electronic disruption field that disables enemy field upgrades, and it degrades enemy minimap information. So it just makes their minimap fuzzy when they're in the radius of this jammer. And we've seen jammers in the past in Call of Duty. This is pretty much just exactly the same thing. But finally, in this alpha build, we had access to the field mic. And with this, it takes 3 minutes 15 seconds to charge. And this is once again just a small piece of equipment you throw on the ground. And this is a recording device that highlights enemy sounds on your minimap. And once again, this works in a radius around that piece of equipment. It's kind of like a motion sensor from previous Call of Duty games. And that covers it for all of the field upgrades that we had access to in the alpha build of the game. I fully expect there will be more once we get into the full build of the game. Now let's move on to the perks. And like I said, there are 3 different tiers of perks, which is no surprise. That's pretty standard for Call of Duty. And by default, we get to choose 1 perk per tier. So let's just hop into tier 1. First up, we have Engineer. And with this, you can detect enemy equipment and score streaks through walls. Also, score streaks will show up on your mini-map. And finally, this allows you to re-roll care packages. Then after that in tier 1, we've got Tactical Mask, which protects you against flashbangs and stun grenades, and also makes you immune to gas. And then finally in tier 1, at least for the alpha, we only had access to 3 perks per tier in the alpha. Again, I'm sure there will be more in the full build. But the final tier 1 perk that we had access to is Flak Jacket, which helps protect you against explosives as well as fire. Now, moving on to tier 2, first up we've got Scavenger, and this one allows you to replenish ammo from fallen players. Only ammo though, not equipment. The next one, Quartermaster, this one allows your equipment to recharge every 25 seconds. So this is basically restock from Modern Warfare. Both your lethal and your tactical will be recharged every 25 seconds. But finally for tier 2, we've got Tracker, and this one allows you to see an imprint of enemy footsteps after they go by. And also, when you aim at enemies, it will reveal them on your team's minimap. Now, I don't know how this is going to interact with Ghost. We'll have to wait and see on that. But that is a very unique feature to be adding to Tracker. But finally, moving into tier 3, first up we've got Cold-Blooded, and this one protects you from AI-controlled kill streaks, so they won't be targeting you. Also, for player-controlled score streaks, those streaks won't highlight you, so it'll be more difficult for them to target you. On top of that, we show up cold on thermal sights, which is no surprise. And finally, players that are in vehicles, like a tank for instance, won't be able to see your nameplate if you have Cold-Blooded equipped. After Cold-Blooded, of course, we've got Ghost, and with this one, you are undetectable by enemy spy planes whenever you're moving, planting or defusing bombs, or controlling score streaks. And the key here is you do have to be moving, but it isn't as strict as Black Ops 4, where it basically was only working while you were sprinting, and then the moment you stopped, then you'd be vulnerable and Ghost wouldn't be working for you. It's more like Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3, where you can stop for a couple seconds, maybe get a quick reload in, and as long as you get back on the move again shortly after that, that whole time you're going to be protected by Ghost. If, however, you're just standing still and not really moving around at all for more than a few seconds, then Ghost will deactivate and spy planes will be able to find you until you are on the move again. But finally, this leaves us with one last perk in Tier 3, and this is Ninja. Now, Ninja is kind of like Dead Silence. It gives you quieter footsteps while sprinting, and it also makes you more resistant to the Field Mic field upgrade. However, I do want to be really clear here. I did notice while playing, I was still hearing people's footsteps when they were using Ninja, and there were several situations where I know I was using Ninja, and I sprinted up on somebody, and they heard me, and they were able to react in time. So it's not Dead Silence, but it does pretty significantly dampen your footstep audio. So that's it for the perks that we had access to. Now let's finally move into the wildcards. And the wildcards are what really changed things up this time around, especially compared to Modern Warfare's loadout system. So with each class, you get to choose one single wildcard. And let's just go through them because they have a pretty serious impact on how your classes are built. The first one we had access to is called Danger Close, and with this one, it allows you to equip an extra lethal and an extra tactical, and on top of this, you start with maximum ammo for the guns that are on your class. So now you get 2 lethals and 2 tacticals and max ammo, which is a pretty big deal. The next wildcard is called Lawbreaker, and with this one, you can equip any weapon in either slot, so that means if you wanted to, you could have 2 primaries or even 2 secondaries, and on top of that, you can equip any 3 perks that you want. So it basically just eliminates the tiers of perks. You get to pick any 3 perks that you want. So if you wanted to, you could have all tier 3 perks or 2 tier 3 perks and a tier 1 perk. You can mix and match however you'd like. The only restriction is you still only get 3 perks. After that one, we've got Gunfighter, and with this allows you to unlock 3 additional attachments for your primary weapon. And this means you can have up to 8 attachments on your gun, which is insane. Like, you can just max out. You get an attachment for every single potential slot of attachments you can use. And I think this is going to be a fairly popular option for a lot of people because you can really max out a gun with this. Keep in mind, this doesn't apply to your secondary though. And finally, for the wildcards that we had access to, we have one called Perk Greed. And with this one, it allows you to equip 3 extra perks. But we are still limited to the tiers here. So really what it allows you to do is pick 2 perks per tier. And this is another one that I think is going to be quite popular depending on the goal of your class setup. If you want, you can go really perk heavy and use this one, or you can go really attachment heavy on your primary and use Gunfighter. It's really up to you. There are lots of different ways to build your class, and my initial impression of this is very positive. I really like what they're doing here, and I think this is a big step forward from Modern Warfare's class system. I love the Gunsmith system in Modern Warfare. I like that they brought that to the game. But I do feel like we lost a lot of the magic of Pick 10 and having sacrifices and being able to make more adjustments to how our class setups are built. And the wildcards in this really open up that dynamic a lot more and give us a wider variety of choice when it comes to our class setups while still maintaining the Gunsmith system. So yeah, overall, when it comes to the class setup system, at least my initial impression is this is a step forward from Modern Warfare. And on paper, at least, I'm really liking what I see here overall. Of course, that's just my opinion on this. I'd like to know what you guys are thinking in the comments section below. What are your initial impressions of the way that Create a Class is working, where they have kept Gunsmith, but they've added that additional element of having wildcards to the class setup? Also, what are your thoughts on the perks that they're adding to the game? Do you like that we have that ninja perk back again so we can make our footsteps quieter all the time by default? Or did you prefer Dead Silence as a field upgrade? Just let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, if you guys are interested in seeing all of the guns that we had access to in the alpha, I've got another video that I'm going to upload at the same time as this, or roughly the same time, and I will leave a link to that. And with this, you guys can see all of the guns in-game. You can see their reload animations, their firing animations and sounds. And yeah, I just thought you guys would appreciate seeing that, so I took some time out of one of the matches just to do that for you. So if you guys enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more Black Ops Cold War content if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.